For a long time, Mike Israetel acted like he was the smartest person on earth.
I'm both on a raw IQ scale smarter than almost every coach, maybe every coach.
And I pegged at scale high. So you get every single question right. And so my IQ is above 160. We don't know how high because they don't do standardized IQ tests above that.
Now the degree he used to build his name is being picked apart. He clearly loved the respect his status gave him.
I'm a perfectionist asshole with a PhD. Yeah, hell yeah, that's why I say shit like that.
Dr. Mike, geez, that's a big deal. And I've noticed that carries a lot of weight.
The respect he spent a lifetime building is gone. He is clearly feeling the pressure.
All I feel is rage and frustration.
He claims it was only a small mistake with his school papers.
I guess technically I submitted the wrong draft to the graduate school. And so that's been, being rectified now. But yeah, my PhD was as Jared Feather likes to say, 100% fine, which is a euphemism for it happened and it was okay.
He could have saved himself by being honest. Instead, his pride stopped him from admitting he was wrong. Now he is losing his status in the fitness community. To see why the fitness world is so upset with Mike Israetel, we need to look at how he got so famous. It all started back in high school when he was on the wrestling team. Most people find their love for sports through good coaching. For Mike, it was the opposite. He hated how his coaches used exercise as a way to punish the team.
So from wrestling, how'd you get into bodybuilding? What was that transition?
So my wrestling experience wasn't actually great because we went through a bunch of different coaches and they didn't they kind of used exercise as punishment for us.
Yeah.
For some reason, it just didn't. I was an exercise addict in training, so I couldn't understand exercise as bad. I remember I had a philosophical realization early in wrestling where I was like, okay, if training makes us better and we want to get better, wouldn't rewarding us with more training be more intelligent than punishing us with more training?
Yeah.
This interest became a deep focus in college. He studied kinesiology at Michigan University and later got a master's degree in exercise science from Appalachian State University. He could have just worked as a trainer, but he wanted a doctorate. He joined a program at East Tennessee State University. In 2013, he finished his research on how different traits relate in athletes and earned his degree. With his new title, he taught at Temple University and the University of Central Missouri. Mike wanted to reach more people. He teamed up with his friend Nick Shaw to start Renaissance Periodization. To grow the brand, he started a YouTube channel in 2012. He began sharing very specific details about how to build muscle.
Minimum effective volume is a little tough to estimate formally because we have a book, How Much Should I Train? It's about the training landmarks on renaissanceperiodization.com. It gets very technical about how to find your MEV, and really finding a minimum effective volume means analyzing an entire several mesocycles of training where you intentionally train with as little volume as possible and seeing which volume finally results in no growth. So if you grow 14 sets per week, great. If you take it down to 11 sets per week and you still grow, great. That's definitely 14 was not your minimum effective because you're growing from 11.
Few people in fitness had this level of schooling. Both new lifters and experts started to see him as the main voice of authority. Mike was extremely sure of his own advice. He even looked at the training icons like Ronnie Coleman to point out what he thought was wrong.
But it pays to remember that Ronnie didn't grow basically any muscle like this. He grew it doing more conventional things like squats for sets of 8, sets of 10, hack squats, leg presses, often with a very large range of motion, and multiple sets of those kind of moderate reps. That's how you build muscle. That's how Ronnie did it. That's how Grandma did it. That's how Grandpa did it. That's how you're going to do it. This sets of 2 and sets of 4 and the squat and the deadlift that Ronnie's really well known for, you can file this under just for swag. This is just living life and being the f***ing man.
That level of confidence helped his brand grow to over 3.8 million subscribers. He became a regular guest on major podcasts and sold books and apps. For a long time, everyone believed he was the gold standard for fitness knowledge. Staying at the peak is hard because the only place to go is down. Mike found this out when Greg Doucette started criticizing him. It began in December 2019 when Greg posted a video about Jeff Nippard. Greg thought the focus on science was making people soft. He felt people should just push themselves more.
People are lazy, people don't train hard, and so to tell someone to hold back when they're already holding back is moronic and asinine. Tell them, work harder. How hard? Harder than you worked.
Mike was asked what he thought about that video. Since he also uses a science-based style, he shared his opinion.
I'm pretty sure I saw the entire video by Greg. He never actually answers the question of how much. He just says go harder, and he yells a lot, which is funny, but it's precious little to learn from that other than go hard. And he may have very, very good critique that people just need to train harder because they're straight bitches out here. And they may very well be true. Some people it's true, some people it's not. But it's definitely true for a lot of people. But even once you know, okay, I'm fucking training hard, do you do 3 hard sets? Do you do 6? Do you do 9?
Greg did not like Mike's answer. Just 3 days later, he posted a video to challenge Mike. He mocked Mike's beliefs that you should stop a few reps before reaching failure.
2 things. Thing number 1 is that coming close to failure, about 2 or 3 reps away, if you take the net balance of the evidence, doesn't seem to provide any more stimulus than going all the way to failure. So the argument of going all the way to failure sort of falls apart right there.
2 to 3 reps shy of failure is close to failure? Come on, no it's not. 2 to 3 reps shy of failure is a warm-up set for this boy. I don't train like a pussy.
Greg worried that Mike's advice would give people an excuse to be lazy. Many viewers agreed. They felt Greg was more inspiring. To settle the issue, Mike met Greg for a debate in mid-December. It did not go well for Mike. Greg was calm and polite. Mike looked bored and was even caught yawning while Greg was talking. They disagreed on almost everything, including the definition of training volume.
What Greg is defining is called mathematical volume. It's when you do all the multiplication, sets times reps times weight times distance. And that's a very, very good concept, but I think slightly one that does a little bit more for us in training is talking about the number of hard sets that you're doing, because the number of hard sets, as you do, anything from 5 to 30 reps, roughly close to failure, it's a roughly effective as far as hypertrophy for all the rep ranges within there, because as the weight goes up, the per repetition stimulus for hypertrophy goes up, but also you have fewer repetitions.
Most people who watched felt Greg won. They didn't like Mike's attitude. One popular comment said Greg left his ego behind while Mike brought his. No one knew it yet, but this was just a sign of how Mike would act in the future. Things started to fall apart in the middle of 2023. Mike said he wanted to get back into bodybuilding and win his pro card. He knew he had to use steroids to do it. Since he has a PhD, people thought he would stay safe. Instead, the drugs caused him a lot of pain.
Anxiety like you would not believe. Every day that I'm on high doses, I wake up in the morning afraid of the rest of my day. All I feel is rage and frustration and anger and anxiety. Externally, I'm like, hello. But internally, I'm like, say something. Let's get this party started. I don't want to live like that. It's terrible. What's that called? Intrusive thoughts. I think about violence all the time.
Greg Doucette began making videos about Mike again. He told Mike to stop before he hurt himself.
I have severe anxiety disorder.
What this is a sign of is some form of a chronic illness. This is not good. It's not healthy. And somebody with all of these health markers combined probably shouldn't be competing. Why is Mike risking his health, risking his life in order to get up on stage?
Greg also made fun of him. He used his typical style to mock Mike's skills as a trainer.
Let's see how those methods actually work, in the real world.
Thank you, Greg.
Is he, in fact, the master trainer that you believe? The master dieter? Or is he just the master baiter? Did he just work on a lobster ship like Coach Greg? And is, in fact, the master baiter?
In July 2024, Mike quit. He did not place in the top 5 at a show and said it happened because his tan was not dark enough. Greg did not agree.
After getting into objectively the best shape of my life, I placed out of the top 5 at my most recent show. In large part, sort of hilariously, because of insufficient tanning. It wasn't the tan. It wasn't the tan. I'm sorry, telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Yeah, I get it. A tan can help accentuate the definition. But if you're off, if you're soft, if you have 10 pounds to lose, 10 can't offset that.
Mike had reached his limit. He was angry about his failure. In October 2024, he did an interview and spoke out against Greg.
Back in the day on Omar Isuf's channel with Greg Doucette, who is a two-faced lying sociopath sucker.
He said Greg tricked people during their old debate. According to Mike, Greg acted like a nice person just to make Mike look bad.
He talked mad shit in his videos with his fake voice about how stupid I was and how wrong I was about volume or whatever the it was about. And I was like, oh, this guy wants a shot at the title. So when we got face to face in a debate, I mirrored that energy. And he turned off his parrot voice and went straight into nice guy agreeable mode. And almost all the comments were like, oh my God, this Mike guy's a asshole. And this Greg guy just came to the conversation to try to learn. No, he didn't. He's trying to learn shit.
Many fans were happy to see Mike fight back. They did not expect him to keep acting this way. From that point onward, Mike took on a mindset where he felt nobody could touch him. He often told his followers that his brain worked at a higher level than any other coach in the industry.
I'm both on a raw IQ scale smarter than almost every coach, maybe every coach. And I know more about physiology, body responses, etc. than they do in most cases.
I've taken the Ravens Advanced Progressive Matrices test, and I pegged it scale high. So you get every single question right. And so my IQ is above 160. We don't know how high because they don't do standardized IQ tests above that.
This supposed mental edge made him feel superior in every way possible. He did not limit these claims to his intelligence. He also talked about having more grit and mental power than anyone else.
And also in every category of human behavior, I'm tougher than you. I can train closer to failure than you. I can do it for longer. I have more willpower than you. I'm just better than you, Lyle.
Because he believed he was at the top of the field, he stopped listening to outside advice. He made it clear that since he was the expert, no one could possibly have a better idea than he did.
And if you think you know, you are presuming you know more than me about the thing I'm one of the top experts in the world in, and also the thing I'm literally involved in myself. So whatever ideas you have about how I can improve, just right off.
This aggressive attitude did not sit well with many of his supporters. People began to find his ego tiring. They noticed a pattern where his self-esteem did not match his actual results. Fans pointed out that while he claims to be the master of the body, he often appeared to be out of shape during his bodybuilding competitions. As he continued to use his education as a shield, some people decided to look deeper. They wanted to see if his PhD work actually supported his claims of being a genius. When they looked at his thesis, they found something that changed the entire story. The first person to truly examine Mike's work was Solomon Nelson. In September 2025, he released a video about Mike's PhD research. He did not have anything positive to say. He called the work shallow and lazy. When people saw Mike's credentials, they expected a masterpiece. Mike had spent years building a persona as a brilliant expert.
So naturally, when I got my hands on Mike Israetel's PhD thesis, I expected a masterwork, an intellectual tour de force. Instead,
I'm a perfectionist asshole with a PhD. Yeah, hell yeah, that's why I say shit like that.
Dr. Mike, geez, that's a big deal. And I've noticed that carries a lot of weight. Like all I feel is rage and frustration.
What I got was a document so sloppy, shallow, and confused, it could only pass in a system that had already failed.
Solomon found the opposite of perfection. For a PhD to be valid, it must add something new to the world. Mike failed to do this. His entire paper tried to prove facts that everyone already knew. He claimed to explore topics that were unclear in the past. However, his findings were very basic. He proved that strong athletes have more muscle and that leaner athletes run faster. These things were already proven many times before 2013. Even Mike seemed to know his work was not new. He cited many other studies in his own paper that proved the exact same points. For example, in Chapter 3, he admitted that the link between strength and power was already well supported by other data.
For instance, in Chapter 3, Mike explicitly notes that the finding that stronger athletes produce higher rates of force development has been previously well supported in the literature, and that the finding of higher power generating abilities being associated with stronger athletes is well supported by previous data.
It is one thing to have no new ideas, but Mike also failed at basic math. Throughout his paper, he used data that was impossible. He used complicated words to hide simple points and left in hundreds of errors. He made mistakes in nearly every table. Some of the numbers made no sense in real life.
Report that for the 20 lowest performers, the mean body masses were 73.9 kilos and 75.3 kilos respectively, with standard deviations of 71.8 kilos, virtually equal to the means themselves. This is a statistical absurdity. Standard deviation measures the spread of the data around the mean. A standard deviation this large, relative to the mean, is nonsensical in a biological context. For this to be true, given a normal distribution, it would mean that roughly 1/3 of the lowest performing athletes in Table 4.6 had a body mass either greater than 145.7 kilos or less than 2.1 kilos, the weight of a newborn.
These errors showed a lack of care. It looked like Mike simply copied numbers from one spot and pasted them into another without checking them. This happened in 3 different tables, making his entire conclusion useless. The lazy work continued in chapters 3, 4, and 5. Many sections were exact copies of each other. He even copied the same typos and formatting mistakes.
The methods section in chapters 4 and 5 are near verbatim clones of those in chapter 3, reproducing the exact same typos, the exact same formatting mistakes, and the exact same structural oversights, of which there are many, which is strong evidence that large portions of the thesis were duplicated wholesale without even a cursory proofread.
Mike also struggled with basic words. He tried to use jargon to sound smart, but he often used it incorrectly. On page 14, he used the word obviate in a way that made no sense.
To obviate means to make unnecessary, or to avoid, or prevent, but Mike misuses it here to mean something like exclude consideration of.
The paper was also full of simple spelling mistakes. He misspelled words like vertical, individual, biomechanics, and exercise. That last one was pretty ironic. He also frequently forgot to use the spacebar.
Perhaps the most common mechanical failure in the thesis is Mike's inability or refusal to press the spacebar. Missing spaces between words and after punctuation are so frequent, it's as if the spacebar was rationed. They're everywhere. By the time you encounter the 100th instance, you're no longer wondering how they slipped through. You're wondering if Mike's keyboard was partially submerged in cement.
Even his citations were a mess. He cited a study from 2010 that misspelled science and listed a page range that was physically impossible. The same wrong citation appeared on 3 different pages. More importantly, he used citations that did not actually support his claims. He claimed certain research was not unified, but the books he cited were about a different topic entirely. Mike is not the only one to blame. His teachers at the university should have caught these errors. The fact that this paper passed makes the school look bad. It also makes people question the entire field of exercise science. Some professors say this is a common problem in the industry, where poor work is allowed to pass at many universities. For Mike, this discovery ruins his image as an expert. His entire PhD looks like a collection of mistakes rather than a serious piece of science. Mike's response to the situation was a disaster that ruined his chances of a good outcome. He started by blocking everyone from reading his paper except for students and people who went to his school. He was clearly trying to hide the proof. He made an excuse that the paper being criticized was just a first draft and not the final artwork. He lightly hoped this would make the critique go away. When that failed, he went on camera to try and explain himself. He did not post this on his own channel. He used a friend's channel instead. This was a warning sign that he wanted to keep the news away from his main audience. In the video, his friend tried to help him. He said the version being criticized was not the final one, and that Mike had sent him the real final work, which had no mistakes.
I need to make one thing very clear. The version of Mike's dissertation I've reviewed is a much later draft. This is the document Mike himself saved, defended, and sent to me, and it corrects many of the typos and inconsistencies that Solomon highlighted in his video, through no one's fault in particular, and that appears to be the version Solomon accessed. But one thing is certain, the document Solomon reacted to was not the latest version that was actually examined and passed. And that's the smoking gun. If there's one thing universities never get wrong, it's the name of their own department. In other words, Solomon wasn't even reviewing the defended archived dissertation.
Mike spoke in the video as well. He said he was the one who put the wrong file in the school database by mistake.
We now know Solomon was looking at an accidentally uploaded incorrect rough draft. So I'll say this, I don't blame him for going hard on it because he has every reasonable idea to think this was the final draft. It wasn't. We have the final draft now in the link here. And so most of his critiques are just non-starters because the final just doesn't have most of those problems.
His friend also claimed that the person who made the critique was biased. He pointed out that the critic made many videos about Mike just to make money.
And when you look at the broader context, the pattern becomes clear. To date, Solomon has made more than 10 videos about Mike. That's over 13 hours of content targeting a single person. Topics range from 2-hour collaborations critiquing Mike's bodybuilding performance to hour-long reactions to his surgery, to videos like this one attacking his academic record. A quick look at his views on videos where he features Mike versus his non-Mike content shows an enormous discrepancy in his views. When one person becomes your channel's most reliable source of outrage, views, and income, it raises the question of motive.
The audience did not believe this story. People noted that official records do not hold rough drafts. People quickly found proof that the defense was not true. The version they claimed was the final one was dated earlier than the one being criticized. People also saw that the school changed something in the system in October 2025. The link they provided for the real paper was actually owned by a marketing company. Both Mike and his friend tried to say that a PhD is not a big deal.
And so the PhD isn't some kind of proof of your superiority. It is step one in an academic research career, which most people don't even end up taking. That's my PhD. It's a mediocre step one to giving me a PhD and not much more than that. Never claimed that it was much more.
Mike even tried to use strange jokes to change the subject.
I just want to be really clear about something. This is very, very important that people tune in. I had many conversations with Stephen Hawking himself when him and I were in the waiting room at Epstein's Island. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but he was really excited to be there. He just wanted to talk physics.
He acted like the whole thing was just a small error.
I guess technically I submitted the wrong draft to the graduate school. And so that's been, being rectified now. But yeah, my PhD was as Jared Feather likes to say, 100% fine, which is a euphemism for it happened and it was okay.
After all the facts came out, Mike had to stop the excuses. He admitted that the paper people were looking at was the correct one. He tried to act like the problems were just simple typing errors in a few tables. Almost nobody believed a word Mike said. Despite the backlash, he seems to have escaped without much damage for now. He did not lose followers, his numbers actually grew. It looked like his plan to keep the talk off his main page worked. Many view this as just small online drama with no meaning. However, even if his numbers stay high, his name will be heard for a long time. He tried to make Solomon look bad and let his friend Milo take the fall. All he had to do was admit he made a mistake a decade ago. Instead, these errors will stay with him for the rest of his career. People will use this to question him whenever they want. This is still going on. There might be more news later. We will see if Mike ends up in a worse spot. So subscribe or Mike will make you read every single page of his original PhD thesis.